Howdy, everybody. Thank you guys for hopping on another T8 Outdoors podcast. Super stoked to have my buddy Greg here on the other line with the Accessible Hunter and the Accessible Hunter podcast. But first off, if you guys could like this video and subscribe to this channel, the more likes and subscribes, it puts this podcast out into the YouTube ether, and more people will be able to see it that way because it's becoming quote unquote more popular. But yeah, if you guys could like and subscribe, that way we could get just the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from these podcasts out to the disabled community. I'd be just super stoked if you guys could do that. So yeah, another beautiful day. Greg, thanks for coming on. If you could just let the listeners know who you are and what you're about, I really appreciate it.
Sure, you bet, Derek. Thanks so much for having me on. I've been following you a long time, and we've been kind of going back and forth on the internet on different projects and things. So, really appreciate you taking time to have me on. As you said, my name is Greg Trainer. I'm a person with a disability. I'm a quadriplegic. I was injured in a diving accident in 1999, and I always loved the outdoors. I love bow hunting and fishing and getting out. So after my injury, I just tried to find a way to still be able to get outdoors. And there wasn't a whole lot of information on the internet at the time. So I started a blog, Accessible Hunter, and then that turned into a Facebook page and then turned into a podcast with my buddy Mike Hudson. And like you, we're just out there trying to advocate and get people back outdoors.
I absolutely love it. So since post injury, you're now a quadriplegic. Are you still shooting archery or?
I am. I shoot a crossbow. I can't shoot a compound or a recurve. I guess I could with different adaptive equipment, but I've been shooting a crossbow exclusively for the last probably 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
I really enjoy shooting a crossbow. I shoot a 10 point and have an adapted trigger from Be Adaptive Triggers, a sip and puff trigger. Pretty much, I mean, anybody with a disability, there's a way to shoot whatever you like. And, there's bow holders for compounds and things like that. If I still wanted to shoot a compound, I'm sure I could, but mostly I shoot my crossbow anymore.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I've several friends who are in the crossbow game. My uncle hurt his shoulder really bad, so he can't pull back compound bows anymore. So he's a exclusive compound guy. He's got all his license and state and all that fun stuff you need in order to shoot a crossbow, because in a lot of states you can't shoot a crossbow. You have to have a doctor's note. You have to have your handicap, your handicap hunting license or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, sir. It's actually getting a little bit better. I know a lot of states are starting to adopt the use of crossbows, especially the aging hunting population. Here in Pennsylvania, we have over 1 million hunters, and the age of the hunter is just increasing. And as those guys get older, not everybody can pull back the bow. Not everybody can use the compound or the recurve anymore. So we're fortunate here in PA that anybody can use a crossbow if they want to.
Yeah, man. It's I think the state of Pennsylvania has the most hunters per state out of any state in the entire U.S. from what I've heard in the past. I don't know if it's true or not, but
it's probably one or two. I think it's pretty close to Texas. They might be ahead of us, but Pennsylvania is definitely in the top three when you're talking about amount of hunters in a state for sure.
And do you guys have a healthy population of whitetail out there, or is it just getting decimated?
We really do have a pretty good population. I'm located in the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, and we've got really good access to state game lands and private farms and things. I know that out east they've had some issues with CWD, taking a lot of the herd. But here in southwestern PA, at least in my area, I think the population's pretty healthy.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I just didn't know because I know there's just so many hunters. And do you guys have a lot of public land out there, or has it been mostly taken up private farms and stuff?
We're really lucky that close to me, there's probably 3 or 4 at least state game lands. Um, I know that around cities and things, it's tough to get access to hunting property, but I live in a rural area, and even growing up, you could knock on somebody's door and ask permission to hunt, and it's still pretty easily accessible. Uh, Out west, I know they do a lot of land leases and things like that, but in my area, it's generally public land, or a farmer, or a friend that has access. And if you knock on somebody's door, most of the time they'll let you hunt still.
And that's one thing, guys. I've harped on this channel. Just reaching out. Just get your voice out there. You don't be shy, because if you're not getting your voice out there and you're not asking questions, you're not going to find answers.
Yes, sir.
And then you're gonna be right where you're at right now, wondering, well, how do I get on land? It's either you find your state, your state land, your Bureau of Land Management land, the land that you can hunt, public land, and you go out and hunt that. But that's a lot harder because there's a lot more people.
Yep.
But the benefit of being disabled, especially in a wheelchair, is the sympathy factor. If you take somebody with you and they walk upstairs and knock on the door, and that landowner sees you in your wheelchair and your disability, you're way more, exponentially more, well, you have a way better chance of them having, sympathy on you and saying, yeah, you can hunt. No, a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, um, you know, archery only makes sense. People don't want,
Right.
especially people with disabilities in their backyard shooting guns off. You know what I mean? It makes sense, and especially a random stranger. But if you guys could get a crossbow, or if you have the ability to shoot a bow and arrow, be like, yeah, we're just shooting bows and arrows. People, that's the route to go, guys. I'm telling you, it's not gonna hurt. What are they? No. Okay, sorry. Thank you for your time. I hope you have, God bless you. I hope you have a great day, and good luck.
One of the big things that I did initially whenever I was first hurt, Derek, is there's a lot of suburban hunts. There's a lot of whitetail management and the ability to go out and take does. And I got involved with the local police department and a local whitetail management unit. And we were literally hunting in people's backyards, as you said, that I didn't have a track chair at the time. I didn't have anything that would really get me out other than my regular everyday wheelchair. And I used that as a great stepping stone to be able to get back out hunting. And I was able to take 3 or 4 does and a couple of nice bucks literally in people's backyards in suburbia. And we were performing a really good service for whitetail management and keeping the local deer population down in those neighborhoods and communities.
So let's say somebody is listening to this podcast and they're really shy and they don't know what to say. Like, let's say you, Greg, are going up to a door. How would you pitch? What would be your pitch to talk to the landowner and how to hunt their land? What would you say?
I would definitely introduce myself. I would bring up that I've had my hunter safety course, that I've had my bow hunter safety course, that I've been hunting and practicing archery for a long time. Possibly if I know somebody that landowner knows, I'm not above name dropping and saying, "Hey, I'm friends with so and so, and he told me that you have a lot of deer, in this area, and I'd really, appreciate you allowing me to hunt and, you know, introduce yourself, make friends with them, let them know that you are a responsible hunter, that, you're not going to let gates open, that you're not going to leave trash on their land. You know, give that landowner a sheet of paper with references on that. Hey, I've hunted these properties before. If you have any gun club or archery range affiliations, hey, work those too. When you go to the meetings, let the men and women know, hey, I'm having a hard time finding accessible land where I can get in from my wheelchair really easily. Is there somebody that you know? And kind of network and use every available resource, but also have, those references that are written out that you can give somebody, and also give the landowner a picture of your vehicle, give them your plate number, give them your phone number, say, hey, we could talk about this more. You don't have to make a decision right now. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Just as you would want to be approached, approach that landowner with the same, uh, concerns and understand what they're doing when they allow you and grant you permission to hunt their property.
That's straight wisdom right there. You guys heard that word for word. I'm writing this down because I'm gonna put some of what you said just in the caption below when I drop this podcast, so people know like what's in this podcast. And yeah, how to hunt their property. Sweet, man. That was a that was a bachelor's course right there in how to get and hunt someone's property, man.
And one of the other things I'd say too is, instead of cold calling on somebody, you could always write something up, with all of your information, slip it in their mailbox, say to them, what's a good time to talk with you? I'm not trying to catch you at dinner time or what have you, but what's a good time to talk with you? You can call me, you can text me, and then follow that up maybe with a door knock. You could always do something like that as well.
I love it. And so you were saying you went through your local sheriff's office? Like how did that come about?
I just I found out from a friend of a friend about whitetail management here in the local area, and it just so happened that the police department was basically in charge of the local program, and this was years ago. And I rolled into the station one day and said, "Hey, I've been hunting all my life. I started hunting at 12. My injury happened at 31. I was a huge bow hunter. I'm looking to get back into it." And they made me take a shooting test. They had a certain regulations for all of the hunters, not just people with disabilities, but anybody that wanted to hunt that program. You had to pass a shooting test, a background test, and also you had to take 2 doe before you were permitted to take a buck. And I did the shooting test and everything, and man, those guys were just so wonderful. They couldn't do enough for me. Once they found out that I was a pretty serious archer, a guy that really enjoyed hunting, that I had a lot of background. Remember too that I wasn't trying to learn how to hunt as a person with a disability. I was just trying to learn how to rehunt, how to do things differently. So I had 20 years experience hunting before my injury. It was just kind of learning how to do it with adaptive equipment after that.
That's that's awesome, man. So as a quadriplegic hunter, what kind of adaptive equipment do you use that has helped you get back out into the field?
One of the very first things I used was a BMF trigger activator that was a crank, and they had it at Shepherd Center, the therapeutic rec department. Believe it or not, Derek, whenever I was first on at Shepherd, I was still on a ventilator, and I had a couple of therapists take me down to the gymnasium in my chair with a portable ventilator and let me use a crank trigger on an air rifle shooting in their gymnasium. And that really set the stage for me to be able to get back out hunting. I wasn't strong enough mentally or physically at the time to think, hey, I'm going to go hunting right away again. But Shepard knew that I had a high level interest in hunting and the outdoors, and they planted that seed. So it took me a number of years to get strong enough to want to go hunting again. But I always remembered that BMF trigger activator. And whenever I got strong enough, I contacted Buckmaster's Disabled Hunting Foundation. And these guys sent me a Horton crossbow and a very simple mount. And whenever it came, it was like Christmas. And I contacted the lady, her father invented the BMF trigger activator. And I contacted her down in Texas, and she sent me a crank trigger. Well, I can't feel my arms or my hands. So whenever I was shooting the crossbow, I'd have to look through the scope and then look at my hand, look through the scope and kind of do that. I didn't know when I was touching off the trigger. And that worked really great for, a number of years. But then I discovered Be Adaptive Sip and Puff trigger. And Be Adaptive's located in Indiana. And it's a small family run business, but I think they're one of the top manufacturers of accessible equipment, in the country. So I use a Sip and Puff trigger now. I use a mount that I designed and had a buddy weld up. And I hunt mostly, believe it or not, out of my everyday Permobile wheelchair. I've also got a track fab track chair that I use, but I use a Sip and Puff trigger and a homemade mount.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's not gonna it's not gonna happen on the first time. Like everybody gets out there, and you have an idea in your head of how, like, oh, you want to go out there and you want to be rocking and rolling right away. Everybody's injury's different. Everybody's, not all, like, I'm a T8 paraplegic. Not all T8 paraplegics have the same injury. Like certain parts of your nervous system work and certain parts don't. It all depends on how the wiring faulted, and it all depends. It is what it is. So you go out there, and it's a learning process. You're gonna learn what works for you and what doesn't, and you're just gonna totem pole, and you're gonna see which dominoes fall where.
Yes, sir. And you hit the nail on the head right there, Derek, that you can have 5 quadriplegics in a hunting camp, and we're all going to do things just a little bit different. And it's all in the ability you have physically. It's all in how you practice, what you take to the range, what you're comfortable with, what that muscle memory is. I always kind of go through a mental checklist in my mind before I let that arrow go or take that shot. And it's all muscle memory of, okay, I'm going to set up a certain way. I'm stronger if I go from left to right. I know these things from time on the range. And it's just how I prefer to do things. Doesn't mean that you're going to do it, the same way. You're going to do things how you like to do it. But I'm sure you have kind of the same process that this is how I set up. This is how high I am. This is how my chair is tilted back so that I think, well, that deer or that antelope or that turkey is going to walk out there 30 yards. I've got left and right. I can move a little bit, but I don't want to have to adjust very much. I want that animal to walk into my zone where I feel comfortable taking that shot.
100%. Yeah, correct. And that's the thing too, is when you're in the blind, you're not going to want to be moving around and fidgeting and trying to figure out that animal's going to pick you off in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, oh, look at this fool walking around. Like, yeah.
And using a power chair, the minute I turn my chair on, the brakes click off. So there's no way I can avoid that clicking sound whenever if I go to have to turn my chair. So I try to avoid that at all costs. Now, if you're in a manual chair or if you're using arm crutches or what have you, your situation is going to be different. But guys and girls in power chairs, we have to pretty much rely on the ability that we can move that mount left and right and not move our chair, because if I turn my chair on, it's usually over.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned it's the same thing with my brakes, and then popping them off. There's a loud click, and
Yep.
and it's not necessarily loud, But when you're in the woods and you're in a blind and it's dead silent out there and you have an animal in front of you that's their hearing is one of the reasons they're still alive is they're very in tune to what's going on to every little sound. If there's something that doesn't sound natural or something that just is like click, I don't know, they're gone, dude, gone in a heartbeat.
And we're talking about bow hunting too. So, we're trying to get that animal anywhere from 40 yards into 10 yards. And I've
Mm-hmm.
actually taken deer all along that spectrum. And you're dealing with the scent, you're dealing with body odor, the odor on your chair, and you're really it's a different ball game bow hunting as opposed to rifle hunting where you're talking about 100 to 300 yards, what have you. So that click, it's super loud whenever that deer's at 15 yards or 20 yards, and I get all jazzed up. I'm getting excited just talking to you, Derek, about bow hunting. I freaking love it, but it's a different ball game when you're trying to get up close and personal bow hunting with an animal. I think that's why I love it so much.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't harp on it enough that if we're not all in the same position, and some people aren't going to be able to bow hunt, but the difference between rifle hunting and like rifle hunting, yeah, you could get out and touch an animal that's way out there, and it's a lot more feasible for a lot of people, especially because you're in wheelchairs and you don't have to move certain distances. And don't get me wrong, I still rifle hunt a lot. But if I had the opportunity, it's just there's just something about archery hunting, getting up close and personal with that animal, getting a relationship with that animal, seeing the animal's eyes, seeing their diaphragm breathing, and you're
Yes,
seeing their
sir.
breath and yeah, it's just getting close to your animal, and it's almost like an ancestral like you're getting on the same page as your ancestors, and like your great
Yep.
great 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 grandpa in like the 1500s. That's how they were doing it. They were out there doing the deed, and yeah, I don't know. That's
It,
just I'm addicted to it.
I get really charged up over it. It's not that I don't rifle hunt or haven't taken deer with my rifle, but it's just a different experience. But heck, if you like the squirrel hunter, you like the turkey hunter, or hunt pheasants, whatever's getting you out there, God bless you. That's what you should be doing. If you're excited about taking that animal and excited about going out with friends and family, that's what it's all about to me. Hunting's not about tagging out so much as the experience, of going to deer camp or going on a trip with your family or friends, and it's the stories that you tell and the things that you have to adapt to and the weather and just I love all of it. I really do.
Oh yeah, that's something I really try to bring home on this podcast. And I've people probably irritated about me saying it every podcast, but it's not so much about yeah, we all want a big head on the wall. We all want, a freezer full of food, but I say don't overlook the journey.
Yes, sir.
The journey getting your camo on, or even we'll back up even further, driving or flying somewhere, getting to the place, getting into where you're going to stay, getting your camo on, getting out to the field, rolling up to the field, like what's the weather like? Is it sunny? Is it rainy? Is it super windy? Like, and then once you get in the blind, it's like you hear your animals, like what's doing what, like is there a squirrel over there snitching on you that letting the whole forest know that hey, there's an overgrown adult male in that freaking fake tent over there. Yeah, like you got just being in tune with nature and being in tune with the sounds and the feelings and all that, like That's what I love, dude. Is I love the journey. Yeah, the cherry on top is getting your critter, and that's what we're all there for, and getting excited and like, oh my gosh, getting that adrenaline rush and getting head on the wall, food in the freezer, etc. But yeah, the journey, all of that too, is just it starts. Your hunt starts with the idea.
Yes,
That's
sir.
when your hunt starts. Your hunt doesn't start as soon as you get in your blind. Your hunt starts with the idea, and then you're flowing from there, putting
And
it into action.
you think about it, hunters are probably one of the most friendliest groups of people to approach. When you go to a show or you're shooting a 3D event, you start talking to people. Pretty soon, you've got friends that you didn't even know you had. And if you go hunting with somebody, chances are you're going to talk to that person a couple of times a year. And just like you and I mean, we got friendships across the country, you know, all related to hunting and all because of that shared passion and that shared desire to experience the hunt, to tell your story, to listen to my story. It's just hunters are just a good group of guys and girls.
I can't, dude. I love that you brought it up, and I ain't bring it up because I was gonna bring it up, but you brought it up before me, so we're gonna jump on that train. I cannot say it enough. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me harp on this 1,000 times. Is the outdoorsman and outdoorswoman community is the friendliest community you're gonna find out there. There will be people you'll meet that will, if you're willing to meet them halfway and you show them you're passionate, they're gonna be like, all right, and they're gonna see you in your position. They're like, all right, yeah, let's get this dude or let's get this girl out there. Let's move heaven and earth. And people will be like, oh, I know someone with land. Oh, we could do this, we could do that. Like you're just gonna find so many rad people that's gonna want to help you get out there and want to help you just be. They're gonna be a massive blessing. The outdoorsman community is just in I've met some of the coolest people I know just by Instagram, just by
Yes, sir.
like, hey man, like cool photo. I like that deer there. That's cool. And then you shoot him a direct message. Hey, like this is my scenario. Like I'm a quadriplegic or whatever. Insert your disability, and like how can you give me some information on how I could possibly get out there and go hunt? And they're gonna be like, oh, they're either going to give you an answer or they're going to be like, hold on, let me ask so and so. And it's just, yeah, it's just an amazing group of people.
We've never lived in a time that we're more connected than right now. If you want to go hunting in Illinois or you want to go hunting in West Virginia, you can get on and Google. Chances are there's an organization in that state, whether it be a small organization or a national organization, but it's never been easier to find out the opportunities that are available for people with disabilities in the outdoors. It's just amazing. We live in a really super connected world. I know a lot of people are trying to get off of Facebook or get off of Instagram so much, but look at all the good that we do by social media and how we can stay connected and offer people an opportunity to get outdoors.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to the whole social media thing, but if you focus
Right.
on the pros and you make it an asset and you get out there and you reach people, it's a huge networking opportunity.
Yes, sir.
It's not something that you can just let slide. And yeah, I've met incredible people, and I've been on some incredible hunts that I would never have been on if I didn't say, "Hey, cool deer," you
Right.
know, on Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on. It's it's cool. I
Yes.
highly don't be shy, everybody. And it's not like you're going out like a lot of people, especially with people with disabilities. We tend to shell up, and they get very shy, But you know you type. And like how I started getting into the podcast game and starting wanting to share my story with podcasts is I would just write my resume down, like I've hunted this, blah 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 blah. You fill it in, and this is what I'm about. This is kind of like what I can bring to the table. I can talk to people about accessibility and disabled hunting and blah 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 blah. And I would just I'd find people with podcasts, and I would just copy paste it to everybody I could possibly find who had a podcast. And next thing I know, I'm doing podcasts all the time and just meeting really cool people, and that's it. That's how I found myself on the Meat Eater show. Like that's like one of the top hunting shows out there in the world, and I was lucky enough to just shoot a deer in the right spot and had it go insanely viral. But it wouldn't have that deer wouldn't have been seen by the right people to get me onto that show. It just networks, and it's a cool thing if you make it a cool thing.
And Derek, you kind of hit the nail on the head on all of that, that it's about advocacy. It's about talking to people and sharing those experiences. You and I, we've been hurt, a while, and it's second nature to us to be able to do this stuff. But the reason that I like being on podcast and social media and things is to encourage people that are newly injured or somebody that doesn't really believe that they can still get back outdoors and do this type of thing. And if we can reach a few people, every year, every season to encourage somebody to get back out, that's what it's all about. That really is. It's not about me, and it's not about you. It's about encouraging people to, get back outdoors, live their life. That because you have a disability, it shouldn't limit you to staying inside all the time and not having friends and not having these experiences. Don't be afraid to try to get out to these camps, because when you roll into a strange deer camp, you might roll in there a stranger, but after the first hour or so, people are going to start talking to you and realize, hey, you're just there to hunt like everybody else. And by the end of the week, you're telling them great stories. They're learning about you and your disability, about you and your family, about things that you enjoy. And you're just another hunter by the end of the camp. But you've made, connections. You've made friends that maybe you'll continue to talk with that person the next several years and go on more hunts. Or, maybe they'll have a question about, hey, I have a buddy that's a quadriplegic. How do you do this? Could you talk to him, or could you talk to her? And then you become a resource for people. And it's just like a never ending thing. And that's one of the things I love over the years, is how many people you and I get to talk with and share.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a spider web, and it's
Yep.
just, the domino effect. It's like it just keeps going and going and going, and you're gonna meet some really really cool people, really cool people. So I want to jump on something. Let's say there's people out there who are wanting to get in the woods or wanting to get to hunt, and they don't know how to. What recommendations do you have through your infinite wisdom that you've gained over the years? Where would you send people? What would you say to someone who's trying to get out in the woods?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd say to them, what's the local resources like? So again, Google is your friend. Find out the local archery and gun clubs and become a member and go to the meetings. Put yourself out there. Try to make connections locally. Try to figure out what type of hunting or shooting do you want to do. Is it archery? Is it rifle? What are your limitations? Do you have hand function? Are you able to pull the trigger? Do you need an adapted trigger? Do you need a sip and puff or a crank? Or do you need a mouth tab? Or what's your ability? And then I would look at YouTube, Google disabled hunting, accessible hunting. Get on any forums that you can, any of the podcasts that you and I have. Try to do as much research as you can, because there's just so much information out there. But I would definitely start locally and find out what's available that I could go to myself, what archery range I can go to. Go to the meetings, talk to them. Chances are there's somebody in that club that is a hunter with a disability. I know that the more you look, the more people you find. So I'd start locally. Would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's my route as well. As I'm constantly saying, yeah, like check with your local fishing game.
Mm-hmm.
Call fishing game, or if you could drive down to the station, even better, because being over the phone and telling fishing game or telling somebody like, yeah, hey, I have a disability, it's this and this, like people are gonna be like, okay, yeah, and they don't really picture it. But if you are there in person and they see you and they see like, oh, like this guy's obviously disabled, like he's in a
Yes, sir.
wheelchair, whatever disability may be, it goes a long way. So contact your local fishing game, and that's been my biggest avenue of success on finding hunts and finding stuff like that, because they can push you into the right direction. They can push you to find local foundations,
Yep.
groups of people who go out every year, and they'll bring a bunch of people with disabilities out into the field. They'll go hunt. They'll know of 501c3s. Though that's the government term for a,
Charities.
yeah, charities. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Charities who take people outdoors, or they'll tell you the right tags to put in for. Every year comes a lottery system or whatnot, and you pay a little bit of money and you put your name in the tag, and they'll tell you which sections to drive or to apply for, and then that way you'll have better opportunities to pull said tag, and then you're like, okay, then you got the tag, and then you can go out to public lands and
Right.
find a hunt. And then a lot of states too offer shoot from a vehicle
Permits.
permits for people with disabilities. Not every state. I just got in contact with a guy in the state of Alaska. The state of Alaska is a little different. I'll touch on that in a later episode when I talk with him. We're gonna chat later today, but yeah, look up your local rules and permits you can get on the Fish and Game or Fish and Wildlife website in your local state, and see what they offer. And a lot of people that way could just send it your way. But like Greg said, Google is your friend. Get on Google your state. Let's say I'm in California. We'll go California disabled hunting. We'll go California disabled hunting, and then just see the options that pull up, and just start clicking away, and eventually you'll find a group that does what you're looking for, and you're only gonna find it too if you look for it. It's
That's
not
right.
gonna magically pop up and be like, hey, here's the opportunity of a lifetime. I just so happen to find you, my
It's rare.
friend here. It's like, no, you got
It,
to get out there and put in work, dude.
it's rare that they knock on your door and say, "Let's go hunting," but some sometimes it can be that easy. Um, we're in the January and February. Right now, it's all the shows, the sportsman shows are going on, and if you have the opportunity to attend one of those, as you said, there's tons of booths, 501c charities that are actually looking for people to take out hunting. You know, if you want to travel to Wyoming or what have you, those are really big sponsored hunts. But there's also the Virginia Wheeling Sportsman. Every state, I believe, has a Wheeling Sportsman's program, so you could start local. You don't have to travel, out west or down south or wherever that could be a hardship for you traveling. I'd go to the local sports shops and the sports shows and try to touch base with the local charities that are putting on events right now this time of year.
Absolutely. And with saying that, um, there's there's so there's a lot of little foundations and charities out there that are looking for people to take hunting,
Right.
and you know, like those opportunities, like you have to find them. Like their hand is out, you know, their hand is out, but you need to put your hand out and grab their hand. It's not gonna,
Right.
you know, like I looked up. There's at one time where I was trying to find hunts to go on, and I looked up and I found a hunt all the way in North Carolina, and I'm in Southern California. That's on the completely other side of the country. And got in contact with the guy, and they got me on a hunt. They put me up. You know, a lot of these places will put you up. They'll lodge you, they'll feed you, and they'll take you out hunting, and it was
Yes,
cool.
sir.
Like, and the guy that that was several years ago, and the guy that they put me up hunting with, I went and hunted his property. I'm still friends with him to this day. We still talk, we still chat.
Exactly.
Like, hey, how's your season going? Oh, you know, this is what I've gotten so far. Oh yeah, this is what I got. And it's just, you meet friends, and then friends lead to more friends, lead to more friends, you know, and it's just, it's cool, but it's only going to happen, guys, if you get out of your shell. Like, I understand, like, depression, anxiety, all that. It's all a real thing. I went through it my first couple of years. It's a real thing. But in order to live life, in order to break free from that stranglehold, you're going to have to take a step.
Yes, sir.
Just get that foot in the door, get that foot out of that bubble, and then just build. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to build a kingdom or successful anything in a day. You just working your way up that totem pole. Like I hope this podcast really turns into something. But shoot, dude, this is my 7th episode. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of guys who are several hundred episodes deep already. So it's
It's
everybody got to start somewhere.
it's the fear of the unknown sometimes that
Oh yeah.
paralyzes people and keeps them from taking that chance or an opportunity. And let's face it, I mean, the first time you do something, you may not be successful at it. The first 10 times you do something, you may not be successful, but it's figuring it out. It's problem solving. It's talking to guys like you and me and, you know, networking and you're really using all the resources in our community to be able to find equipment, to be able to find hunts, to be able to say, hey, can you take me out? Can you help me process this animal? You know, if you're able to get out hunting yourself and you are fortunate enough to get a deer or another animal, you may have to call a buddy to help process it, to drag it out for you, to get it to the processor. Have all those things in place. Use the team to your best ability and kind of network just to be able to get outdoors again.
Couldn't say it any better, buddy. So with saying that, let's hear. You got any cool stories you want to share in the life of Greg's hunting career? Like that like as a quadriplegic, like a story people can look forward to, can look up to, and be like, oh, I want to experience that.
Sure. One of the stories that just comes to mind is a few years ago, I was hunting in North Carolina. Pennsylvania bow hunters sent me down to an outfitter, Fair Game Outfitters in North Carolina, and they had a cabin that was all set up with ramps and it was wheelchair accessible. And I went down and met Greg and the guys, and it was a week-long hunt. I had never hunted North Carolina before, and my wife and I went down, and they had the whole camp experience where they had a camp cook and, you know, guides, and it was really just a lot of fun. And we hunted all week, uh, you know, mornings, then we come back for lunch, and then go back out in the evening. And it got to be the last day, the last Friday, and I switched over to rifle. And that morning, I had a doe. Excuse me, I had a doe come on the edge of the field at like 100 yards, and I dropped her. And then in North Carolina, you can take bucks and does. So we texted the outfitter, and he said, "Yeah, well, I'll be there soon." And in the meantime, a small buck come out, and I got the small buck too. So on the last day in North Carolina, I got 2 deer. When the outfitter came, Greg, he and I, celebrated. We high fived, we took pictures, and we went down. I was in my track chair. We rolled down to the deers. I had a sled that my wife had bought me for Christmas, a deer sled. We drug that behind us. We loaded both of the deer onto the sled, and I hauled them out with my track fab. And Greg was like, "Man, I wish every hunter made it this easy." And it was just like the culmination or the accumulation of that week sharing stories, hunting, coming in from camp at lunchtime, talking about what you seen or what you didn't see. And it basically came down to the last day, and we were successful. And they processed the deer for me that night and had everything ready to go in a cooler for me to drive back to Pennsylvania. And it's just hunts like that that always stand out in my mind. And I could talk about hunts in Texas or hunts in Illinois that were all the same kind of thing. That you roll down, you meet these people, and at first people are a little timid. They don't want to ask you what you need, or do you need anything different, or how do you go to the bathroom, or are you going to be okay all day in the blind, or how long can you sit out there, or all these questions that they're not really comfortable asking about our disability. And heck, by the end of the hunt, they're saying, "Hey, if you need me to pick you up and put you in the shower, I will," or whatever you need. People can't do enough for. I mean, we've
Right.
we've said that earlier, but every hunt that I've gone on, I've had a special experience. It's just a different outfitter, different group of friends, or if I go out with buddies that I grew up with or just met. I mean, every hunt's a different experience, but they've all been really good, and some of them have been really cold, and some of them have been unsuccessful. But I've always made good friends and enjoyed being out. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, just getting out of your day-to-day mindset, your day-to-day bubble, being able to focus on something other than your disability is just that's my favorite thing about getting out in the woods, like not even in the woods. Like I'm in Southern California. I hunt a lot of desert. It's just
Yep.
getting out of the metropolis or the city, the town, getting in the woods where you can't hear anything but squirrels and birds
Yep.
and deers and just
And
it's a beautiful thing.
here's another thing I'd like to mention too, that as a hunter with a disability, I'm always relying on somebody to take me hunting. And most of the time that's my wife. We've been together a long time. She's not a hunter. She shoots. She takes pictures. She goes with me. But that's like quality time that we can experience together too. I mean, I don't know too many couples that'll go out to Illinois in 12-degree weather and sit and watch a cornfield all day together and still be laughing and joking at the end of the day. But hunting is a opportunity for us to travel, for us to go together someplace and spend some quality time in the woods and in different places. So I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to my wife Beth. She's always been there for me, and I think being able to hunt together, her setting me up with everything and going with me, it's a special time as a couple for us. And I don't know that everybody gets to experience that if you don't have a disability or you're not interdependent or interconnected like we are.
Yeah, it's really cool. You guys got that bond there. My girlfriend I really wants me to take her. She really wants to get into archery. So I'm dealing with an arm injury right now. But as soon as this arm heals up, yeah, it's just gonna be something we can bond over. But were you guys together? You and your wife, were you together before your injury?
No, we got together after my injury, so we've been together a long time, and it's just how it is. We don't even think about the chair anymore. It's not something that is always thought of as disabled hunting. It's just like who we are and how we live life.
How did you guys meet?
Actually, she was friend of the family, and it just kind of happened after my injury.
That's cool. You guys hear that? Putting yourself out there, like getting, not shuffling your, or hiding yourself inside your house, not locking yourself in. Like it's a getting outside, just getting outside, and then you never know who you're gonna meet, you never know who you're gonna talk to, and that's where life begins. Life begins when you get past that precipice of the unknown. You know what I mean? That's where life truly begins. And this podcast isn't just necessarily about hunting and fishing and stuff like that. This podcast is also about mindset and mentality, and just being able to strengthen yourself and get out there. So you guys, like, if you're you're looking for somebody to bring into your life, like a significant other or whatnot, to help you go hunting or just to help life or whatnot, like, get yourself out there. Like Greg said, go to your local archery club, go to your local archery community. Figure, meet. That's the only way you're gonna meet people, is being where people are.
Yes, sir.
And if people are going to want to be, they're going to want to be around like-minded people, and they want to be around people they're going to have fun with, who they vibe with and stuff like that. And you're only going to meet people by being where people are. I can't preach it enough.
That's exactly right. And, put yourself out there, extend your hand, ask questions, try to be part of the community. Don't shut yourself in, and, open the doors that are available to you in your area.
Right. Put yourself out there, guys. So everybody knows, like, or I hope you know by now if you listen to the podcast, but I give glory to God in all my podcasts. I can't thank him enough for all the things that he's gotten me through and what he does for me. So at the end of every podcast, we're coming up on an hour here. I like to kind of keep it around an hour or so, because people tend to tune out after that, unless you're like Rogan or somebody like that. But we're not there yet, everybody. I know. We're getting there. We're totem polling. But I like to say a prayer at the end of every podcast. So if you guys wouldn't mind, if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, if you could just bow your head with me real quick. I'm going to lift up a quick prayer. Father God, thank you so much for blessing us with this opportunity today, Lord. I thank you for Greg, for sacrificing his time to come onto the podcast, Lord, and give us his wisdom, God. This was an amazing podcast, and he gave some of the information he gave on how to ask people for permission to get on properties, and et cetera, Lord God. Is just an amazing man, an amazing friend, Lord, that I've met over the years, and we've talked and we've laughed together, God. And I thank you for him, God. I pray for his health. I pray for his wife, Lord. I thank you, God, just for the man that he is today, Lord. And I pray that you would bless the people who are listening to this podcast, that you would strengthen them, that you bless them with health, Lord God, and then you bless them with the drive and the motivation and the discipline to get out there, Lord God, to seek opportunities to get out into the woods and be just immersed in your creation, Lord. So, Father God, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for all things that you do, and it's in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome, Greg. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on the T8 Outdoors podcast.
Hey, man, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hope you have a great day, and thanks for all you did.
Awesome, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Bye.